Okay, good afternoon.
Dr. Solomon Abate from the Eastern Nile Technical Region, ENTRO, Ethiopia. I'm happy that you are giving us time for interviewing me in our research project. My name is Mohamed Yassin. I'm originally from Sudan, and now I'm in Italy, in Italy. And I'm doing PhD, multidisciplinary PhD at the University of Udine in Italy. And the PhD is multidisciplinary in its nature, comprising economics, ecology, landscape, and territory. Specifically, as our project, we are taking the Nile Basin as one territorial unit. And within that, we are focusing on a threefold challenge. First of which is food security and nutrition, in particular the food waste, loss and waste, food wastage. The second is on the environmental issues and the urban waste in particular. And the third is generic, which is the resource management. This is the last year for the research, and hopefully I will be concluding by December. First of all, I would like you to introduce yourself briefly, please, and then just give us insights. How do you see these as major challenges, or there are other challenges which are interconnected or related to this? So from there, we are going to drive our conversation. Please.
Okay, thank you. My name is Solomon Abate. I'm the regional project coordinator for the Watershed, Eastern Nile Watershed project. This is one of the IDEN projects. IDEN means Integrated Development for the Eastern Nile, identified by the Eastern Nile countries. 7 projects were initially identified as the first batch, and watershed management is one of them. And I joined actually the ENTRO as a project leader in February 2005, and since then I am responsible for the coordination of the watershed management project in the Eastern Nile countries, which comprise of 4 riparian countries: Egypt, Ethiopia, South Sudan, and Sudan. Well, the watershed management project, as I said, is one of the early on agreed projects, because the issue of resource degradation in general and watershed degradation in particular is a serious problem by all countries. And I think addressing this issue was not controversial. It is a no regret intervention. That's why, unlike other projects, this project was agreed on by all the 3 countries early on. So that's where I am, and since 2005, actually the project came into effect in 2004, and since then we've been doing a lot of work. And I will, if possible, would briefly tell you what we did in the last 10 years.
Yeah, we will be happy.
Okay, for
Do these countries have the same interest in watershed management, or they have different interest in watershed? Or you consider all the Eastern Nile as one watershed, or it is subdivided in subdivisions or subsheds?
well,
watershed.
that's what definitely all countries have interest in the management of the basin, basically the watershed. The issues could vary from places to place, but watershed management is in the interest of all the countries, and they are very much interested in watershed management. That's why they immediately agreed on this project early on.
Inception.
Yeah, And maybe to start with, the first thing, we could divide this last 10 periods into phases. One is between 2004 and 2008, and then 2009 to 2014, and actually 15 because the project was extended by 1 year. The first phase was basically understanding the system itself. We don't consider political boundaries because those watersheds don't recognize political boundaries. So,
Transboundary.
yeah, they are transboundary, and the first thing we did was to understand the watershed itself from a transboundary perspective, to see what are the challenges and also the opportunities that we have within this. To understand that, we undertook a study called Cooperative Regional Assessment Study. It's basically undertaking a study in a cooperative manner where all countries are engaged. We do the study without the political boundary, but of course later on we inserted political boundaries to see the distribution of impacts. So that was the first study that we did. We have documented that very well, and if you want to go through, it's a big document. We have produced a very good document in understanding the watershed itself in terms of what the resources are, what are the challenges, but above to understand the root causes. We don't really stick on the symptoms, but what are the root causes of degradation. And this has been documented. And
when you mention degradation, you mean soil degradation, water degradation, environmental in general.
Yes, in general, the natural resources degradation. That's what we focus on. And in some places, the main environmental degradation is soil erosion. In other places, is biodiversity degradation, wetland degradation. There are different forms of resource degradation.
So it is comprehensive.
It's a very comprehensive one, and to my knowledge, I think this is the first study that has attempted to look into the watershed in a transboundary context without limiting itself to political boundaries. There might be some national level studies, but this looked into the system as one system and try to understand the problems, the challenges, the opportunities that we have. So this has been done.
Only the eastern
Nile Basin. For convenience, we divided the eastern Nile into about 4 sub-basins. The first one is the Takazi-Atbara sub-basin, which includes City also. The second is Abate Nile sub-basin. The third is Baro and Kobosobat, which also includes some part of White Nile.
People also?
People is also part of it, yeah. And the fourth is, we call it the main Nile, the Nile from Khartoum to Yassin. Actually, we limited ourselves up to the Aswan Island because it modifies the whole system, the Aswan Island. So we focused. But some of our studies do include some areas up to the Mediterranean, the Delta and so on, but in watershed management we limited ourselves up to the Aswan, where the impact will be. That's the first thing we did, and we have tried to document all the resources we have, the status of the resource, socio-economic issues, and how they relate to natural resource degradation. That's the first thing we did. Once we have that perspective, then we wanted to look at the distribution of impacts, positive or negative. And we did some economic analysis comparing the inaction or as business as usual, how the resource depletes and how that will be translated into monetary terms. And we then theoretically assumed to do some interventions in watershed management and how they would reduce the impacts and what kind of financial benefit it would bring. We did not really very much concentrate on the intangible impacts, which could be tremendous but very difficult to quantify. And based on that, we have identified the distribution of benefits of watershed management in the Eastern Nile by country, including global benefits also, because the intervention will have a global impact like carbon sequestration through forestry or soil land management. So that we call distributive analysis of impacts positive. So that completes the study. But this study also, after doing this analysis, have come up with a long-term watershed management program in the Eastern Nile. So this is one thing that we did, and important. And for us, this study laid the foundation of our future intervention in the Eastern Nile. This study has been reviewed by countries. Actually, from the start, countries were involved at different stages of the study. So it has been reviewed and it has been accepted at a regional meeting that we had with the government's president. This is one. So with that, we identified what are the long-term things we need to do.
Okay, so you created a database for that.
Yes, we
And
created a
synergy in the database, because it was, I assume it was a different level between the different sub-basins,
Yes.
or the different subdivisions. So the knowledge base or information was
was based on the sub-basins, because
Sub-basins.
interventions was also in the sub-basins, but we also have a general integrated report. We have actually produced another small version of the report. We call it Challenges, Constraints and Opportunities of Watershed Management in the Eastern Nile. We have also produced a document, a smaller version, which has been distributed to all member countries as well as to organizations who are interested in having information on soil and water conservation or watershed management in the Eastern Nile. So this is one significant study that we did. And by the way, this study is appreciated not only because of the outcome, which is very important, but also the process was very important. Because the process has brought in countries together, technicians or experts in their field. They were able to sit, discuss, and so on, and that process created some sort of confidence building also. It was a process of learning, it was a process of understanding each other, it was a process of bringing a common understanding of the challenges that we have at a system level and what we need to do to overcome those. So that was also another significant output of this study. So this is one part of the study that we did in between 2004 and 2008. In the same period, in order to get a buy-in from the countries, we just don't really spend time in studying. We need at the same time to do some small projects that would show benefit on the ground.
Showcasing.
Yeah, so for that we did about 8 pilot projects. We did prepared projects. These projects were identified by the countries themselves. And we prepared 8 pilot, we call them fast track projects, because they need to go into implementation on the ground immediately. And they should generate some benefits so that people don't have really to wait for the study outcome. So they need also to see benefits of cooperation.
Immediate.
Immediate outcomes of those type of intervention.
But how can they see for forestation, for example? It takes long time.
Yeah, I'll come to that one. At the same time, during this period, we also organized experience exchange visits, like at Los Plateau. We organized different workshops, brainstorming workshops to see the processes, the impacts, what we need to do to overcome this. And focusing on the root causes and symptoms. So these are the type of things we do, which I believe have laid the foundation So second phase, which is 2009 to 2014-15, was based on that long-term watershed program. We identified projects, and the two key projects that we did was implementation of this fast-track projects. So we helped countries to mobilize resources for the implementation. We support them technically, and we also have a separate project, capacity building, in building the capacity of countries in implementing these projects. So these are the two basic things that we did. By the way, the most important thing, it will also relate to your, maybe one of the challenges that you raised is the insecurity issue. We believe that watershed management is not a physical intervention also. It needs to address the root cause, which is physical improvement of livelihood. People depend on their natural resource, and if you don't address their livelihood issues, they will continue to exploit the natural resource because they are very much dependent on natural resources, the forests, the land, and so on. And you need to provide a better sustainable land management practice. And sometimes when there's pressure on land, you need to provide alternative livelihood programs, which helps conservation of the natural resource. So our philosophy of the watershed projects are, these are livelihood projects also. So we did implement these prepared projects for the last 5 years. They were extended up to 6 years. Most of the projects, 3 of the projects are in Ethiopia. 4 of the projects were in Sudan, then South Sudan and North Sudan were together. And 1 project was a transboundary project, which is a management of Lake Nasser, Nubia. So these projects are all in all the Nile Basin countries, including South Sudan. Some, but the project in South Sudan did not continue after the referendum. There was some difficulty in management of finance because it was in South Sudan proper at that time who signed the project contract.
So an institutional challenge.
Yeah, that was an institutional challenge. Did it bring about impact? Yes, some of the activities would take time, like afforestation and so on. But there were immediate benefits that communities managed to gain. There were obvious increase in productivity because of the interventions, watershed plus other interventions, economic and so on. You see improvement in grassland management and income from grasslands. You see improvement in accessing water for domestic use as well as for irrigation.
Fisheries.
Yeah, fisheries we don't have because these are at a bigger scale. We also did some alternative livelihood making mechanism and training people in entrepreneurship and so that they can also earn money off farm activities. And even on farm activities like small enterprise, like beekeeping and so on, these brought about immediate benefits to communities, while at the same time managing the land. So they see the benefit, and they want to continue actually. These were very significant in Sudan and in Ethiopia, where we had these community-based watershed management programs. In Lake Nasser, it was all about management of the lake. So the first thing to do was increase the frequency and the area of the lake that we do monitoring of sedimentation. So for that, the project provided some modern equipment. This is a transboundary project done by Sudan and Egypt. It's jointly, it's a transboundary project. So we were able to generate a lot of information on sedimentation and other water quality related issues of the lake and how they affect. And the end product would be producing a management plan for the Lake Nasrullah and the surrounding areas, because it also impacts people who depend on the lake. There are fisheries, there are agriculture and surrounds the lake. So we did some social and environmental studies also, and we expect by the end of the year a management plan to manage the lake as well as improve livelihood of people who depend on the lake and the surroundings. In terms of capacity building, we did a series of trainings, and we saw as a result of this capacity building improvement in capacity. The way they do things were much better.
These are technicians or lecturers or
these are field practitioners.
Field practitioners, officers.
And planners also who design watershed projects and so on. So very visible and significant impact. Yeah. You know, watershed management was somehow known very much in Ethiopia for a long time. But in Sudan and Egypt it's a new project. So for them, the watershed management is new. So we had to build the capacity while they at the same time implement the project. So
in terms of perception, they all
perception
understand
as well as the skills.
as the skills also. Okay.
We introduce conceptual things, how watershed management works, but also they need to develop the skill.
Okay.
So this is a joint or a dual purpose type of training. We also organize exchange visits to farmers, see in areas where things work and why they work. What are the institutional aspects, political commitments, technical quality, the engagement of stakeholders, especially the communities. These all have an effect on effectiveness of project intervention. So we went to places where there was success. Even between like Sudanese came to Ethiopia where there is a better experience and I learned from here. We went to China, India, we went even to Rwanda and Tanzania to see experiences, and if there are failures also, to learn from their failures. So this training program was very important. The other aspect of capacity building is to create awareness of certain issues. For example, conflict. How is it related with resource management and conflict? How do we don't want to prevent, transform those conflicts into a positive
cooperative.
Yes, you don't suppress conflicts, but rather bring them out, see where are the conflicts, and see how you could solve them together with the communities. Like conflicts between farmers and pastoralists in Sudan, for example, or different land users. So we also do workshops and call upon experts to deliver on their experiences. We bring in farmers and so on together and ask them to deliver at all. This is one type of awareness creation and so on. We also did workshops on, for example, watershed management and impact of climate. How does watershed management helps in adapting and mitigating climate as an adaptation method, as a mitigation method also. So we also provide this type of training on strategic environmental and social management. These are an add-on to watershed management that we do. So we have been doing this type of things. But basically, watershed degradation as a consequence in food security, in poverty and so on. And poverty in itself is a cause for degradation. So this is a vicious circle. So watershed management is to break this vicious circle and change that into a more improved livelihood, a more productive area, and that would also help avoid conflicts and so on. This is from a transboundary perspective, also segmentation and so on is a very critical problem. The highlands, there is a lot of segmentation. Soil erosion, and that is deposited on infrastructure, so reservoirs, radiation canals, turbines, they are also impacted by this. So by doing watershed management, upstream and downstream, we see also this positive impact also.
Like planting or terracing or what?
Planting, terracing, there are different interventions that you use. So there is also this impact. Yeah. So siltation will reduce millions of dollars, for example, that the Sudan, for example, spend on dredging canals and so on. We say if we conserve this, there is a very direct impact on the cost of inaction there. So this relationship, reservoir life,
So they understand this interdependency?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's why this understanding is what really promotes. They already knew this through the study. So these are projects, whenever we select projects, we select them in such a way that they have on-site impact as well as impact downstream and upstream. So these are the type of projects we do, and we will continue to do. So it's basically addressing environmental degradation, natural resource degradation, and thereby also improve livelihood security, create linkage between countries, more understanding, conflict transformation. Conflicts can occur between countries, as a result of resource also. So this project, we think we've contributed to this, which is one of the main objectives of the Nile Basin Initiative itself, was bringing about cooperation and addressing poverty while managing the water resource of the Eastern Nile. So that's basically what we do.
Do the people understand the Nile as ecosystem? After these studies, does it manage to bring understanding of the watersheds or the Nile system as an ecosystem, which is also interlinked with the rest of the world and the Mediterranean system,
Yes.
or the other rest of the African continental, especially in terms of climate change, or in terms also of these global challenges? And,
At higher level, yes. Because
Yes.
This is the most, these are people who make decisions at the end of the day, who formulate and enact policies. So at professional and technical level, I think we have contributed to this understanding.
Okay.
That this is one system, so unless you work together, there will be destruction to the system, and the destruction will affect everybody. So by working together, we will have a win-win situation. Degradation in the highlands of Ethiopia is not only affecting Ethiopia, it has consequences on the water resource that we have, and the biodiversity that we have, and that would lead into conflict, political conflict and whatnot, conflict within communities, between pastoralists and so on. So I think we have contributed to that. If you take the farmers, definitely the farmers are more interested in their land. They don't want to go into that bigger picture. But for them also, they have understood that unless they manage their land properly, the consequence will be very grave. And I think by doing some piloting certain things, we also, seeing is believing, so they have benefited. But one thing we need to be clear is the problem is so enormous, it's so big. You cannot solve it through one project. Our role here is to contribute, bring about that awareness, and share our experience in terms of how do we manage better in an innovative way.
Long-term plans.
Yeah. By the way, we also publish materials for use. We have now, it's under printing a guideline on watershed management in the Eastern Nile. We have produced different training materials. We have produced...
So these guidelines is general or context specific, or according to certain selected sub-basin?
Yes, this is more general that can be adapted by countries. So as I said, issues are different from... But as much as possible, we have tried to cover all issues from experience on all countries. But of course, it needs to be improved with time.
This will be important.
We also produce documentary films on these pilot projects. Last year we produced one for Ethiopia, and actually the title, we took the title from the interviews with farmers and inheritance for my descendants. That's what it says.
Okay.
They say by protecting and conserving the environment, they want to leave behind a stable system for their descendants, children and grandchildren.
Sustainability.
Yeah. We just concluded also another documentary for Sudan. It was concluded in March. We will continue to produce this because these films are very short, 30 minutes or so, and we distribute them to different officials.
So the dissemination in
Yes.
local language or
Yes,
also in
that's-
English?
This is, the interviews are in the local language,
Or
but the narrations are in English.
English
Whenever
or
they speak
transcript?
in Amharic, we have
Transcript.
subtitles. Similar in Sudan, it is in Arabic, but there are subtitles plus the narration. So that's how we do it. So I think we're doing a lot of things in that respect. So coming back to your challenges, the first challenge, I think, environmental degradation, natural resource, we believe, is a cause as well as a consequence of poverty. So the watershed management as such is designed to improve livelihood, to address insecurity, food insecurity, water insecurity, and thereby improve livelihoods. In terms of wastage, we are more concerned actually on wastage in the river system, like pollution,
The urban waste. The
water
urban
quality.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Because I see with the first rain, most of the garbage is drive towards these small tributaries or small courses of water, and I assume that at the end of the day, it will end in the system, no? Because it is interconnected.
yes, there are other projects that look after water quality, but we, from watershed perspective, we see sedimentation as one
Of the majors.
of the main water polluters.
But not this garbage or plastic or whatsoever. The urban waste, which is not well
Urban
managed.
waste is not within our mandate, but
Yeah.
it is a problem when we talk
But
about
it affects the
It
watersheds.
affects, yes. And well, our capacities are limited to address all these things. But
Yeah. So,
we have tried to develop a water quality monitoring framework. We have not gone very far, but whenever we do,
are there indication in the deterioration of the water quality, or there are no indication?
we have not yet
Determine that yet.
collected data. There are national data,
Mhm.
but for us, we wanted to bring that national data into one type of format, so that interpretations of the quality and so on will be the same. We didn't go very far on this, but there was one project based in Khartoum, environmental projects. They were doing water quality monitoring, and I remember they established about 40 something sites to monitor the water quality. They must have published it, I don't know much more, but I know they were doing.
Because this is a concern in Egypt, concern and also in Sudan for the irrigation of big schemes, and also for some industries which are discharging in the river system, and also in some big cities along the river Nile. There are some people saying that there are some indicators that bringing to evidence the negative impacts of this unmanaged urban waste, which is going. For example, in Europe, it is no one can drink from water from a river, while the river Nile, up to certain time, it was drinkable water. Now, people around big cities, they cannot drink directly from the river.
No, I mean, it's an important issue, I know.
Yeah.
And pollution is a problem in all these 4 countries, definitely. But the responsible institutions are different in each country. That's what, when we did some survey for establishing the monitoring system, different institutions are responsible, and even between institutions, there is no exchange of information, let alone between countries and so on. But the issue of pollution, including urban waste, is definitely a concern, and I think it has been recognized by all, but in our project, that's what I want to focus on. We realized that it is a problem, and we wanted to establish on the Eastern Nile the water quality monitoring framework, which will definitely record different parameters to establish the quality of water. Be it sediment, be it other polluters,
Heavy
come
metals.
from heavy metals and all from, because the system is also connected with industrial waste, urban waste, and so on.
Yeah.
That monitoring would be very essential, but we don't monitor that in our
Up
project.
to now.
To know that.
I hope it will be included in the programs, yeah, because I see that also in the strategic plan 2015, 2019, I think, or
Yeah.
14 to 19, there is a component of watershed management, but I haven't noticed any component or any element of specific specific concentration on this issue, because I only think it is matter of priority or budget limitation or something.
It's actually a budget limitation one,
Mm.
but also it's also a sensitive issue.
Very
Sensitive in for us to look at the basin as a whole.
Mm.
Measurements are done at national levels, and you need to share information. And sharing information between countries is yet a very sensitive issue. It's a challenge. So, but the issue has come, and we have already established and identified sites where measurements and so on should be taken in each country.
Mhm.
But the actual monitoring should be done by national institutions.
Mm.
And we would like to establish a mechanism whereby they share data.
Mhm.
And we also wanted to harmonize the data collection system, the frequency, the parameters they collect,
Mhm.
so that whenever you share data,
Reliable.
it won't be difficult to
Interpretation.
interpret, bring the data together, and have a basin-wide perspective and so on. But it will take some time. Even establishing the instrumentation is expensive, but they have already some measurement. Even if they share those data that they've collected, it will be very important. That's what I believe. But it will take us. We still have it in our program to establish the monitoring. We've already had some proposal with the Swiss,
Mhm.
which was supposed to start in 2015, but because of disagreement from Egypt for different reasons,
Mhm.
it couldn't come into effect.
Yeah, Egypt was taking it a little bit sensitive, with sensitivity due to this great Renaissance dam of Ethiopia, but at the end of at least recently, there was things seem to be going in the right direction, and that Sudan came to understand that the project will bring benefits to all, so they are approving it, and also Egypt, I see that they are going to.
And the prospects are better now.
Yeah, prospects are better, so I hope that it will go to the right direction. And actually, the ownership and accountability and partnership, these are very important 3 aspects which should be considered, because the region is facing the same challenges of poverty, growing population, pressure on the resources, need for development. For example, not all the countries have the same level of development, so other countries need to catch up. If we consider South Sudan, as if it is starting from scratch, so they need to catch up, and so it should be understood that. So they will erect their dams, and they will erect their irrigation projects, and will go on in this pathway of development. The same also for Ethiopia, which they are right to have their energy security, and at the same time also benefit the others with this renaissance done. So I do share that as a researcher from what I read and what I came to experience. I do share this the implementation of such developmental and infrastructural projects. Concerning the last aspect which I'm trying to bring into evidence, the fate of any of these countries is depending on the fate of the other country. So they have to go through this cooperative approach. And maybe there was the experience, for example, in the United States, they have the compacts. The compact, for example, is for international rivers between Canada and US, between US and Mexico and so on. Here, there is no mentioning of these compacts here as framework or legal framework. Or they have understanding of these compacts. Do you see that from your experience?
No, I mean, definitely, this is one system. And if you don't manage it in a cooperative manner, unilateral actions and country-focused interventions without regarding interests of others will definitely backfire. You know, the first impact will be on the resources. The resource will be depleted, everybody wants to take its share, and if you don't properly and wisely manage it, this resource is not infinite, it is finite resource. So the resource will be the first that will be affected. And if the resource is affected, you will be affected as people of this system. So as one system, you need to definitely undertake development in a cooperative manner. There is no question on that. Well, the second question would be, I mean, everyone has interest, and you need to negotiate your interest. If one wants to dominate, definitely it will backfire. It is a matter of time. Okay.
Yes.
But again, the first that suffer will be the resource itself. And when the resource suffers, everybody will suffer. It's like a lose-lose game. So I think the NBI was established, I think, based on this recognition. And they have tried to set up a legal framework. CFA, this cooperative framework. Parliament is basically a legal framework, which deals on principles mainly.
Yeah.
But this legal framework so far was only signed by 6 countries.
Ratified by a few, yes.
Egypt, Sudan, and Congo, I think they not. So agreeing on that is a basis, because this is about principles. And based on those principles, they will go into water sharing or whatever comes in. The concern of Egypt and so on, as a historical right and so on.
Do you see that this initiative could be transformed into commission or
That's
permanent?
That's the objective.
Okay.
Once the cooperative framework was agreed, then they were to establish an Nile Basin Commission and sub-commissions like this and so on.
Okay.
But now, because anyway is a transitional arrangement, it's not a permanent institution.
Yes.
So with the conclusion of the CFA, it was planned to establish a Nile Basin
Commission.
Which is a permanent institute. That did not happen so far. I don't know how long it will take to come. Some countries were even saying that with or without Sudan and Egypt, they would establish the commission and then
they will come
ask them to come later. So far, so this is a political track which.
But also it is driving track. It
is critical, but our role is to influence, showcase.
Yeah, through information and knowledge.
The importance of cooperation.
Yes, yes.
And hopefully the political entities will listen professional advice and try to work together. But so far, even professionals they need to be convinced because everyone is looking from its country interest alone. And the professional should look at the long term and not the immediate country interest. Because what you see is, in the long run, it will backfire. Egypt might say that this is my historical right, you cannot use it. It can be powerful today, but it will not remain powerful forever. And definitely others will continue to demand their right to utilize. And as population pressure comes, poverty forces them, they will have no other option but to start to utilize that. And that will create this conflict. But if you start negotiating and try to use it reasonably and fairly, it's in the interest of everyone. Because you cannot, you can stop somebody today from claiming, but it's only a matter of time before they will rise up and claim their shares. Yeah, and then that will be very catastrophic. If you do it through negotiation starting from today, I think everybody will benefit. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, actually the Nile Basin initiative was, the binding asset for it was the water.
Yeah.
But the issue is not only this, the core of my thesis I was saying, the issue is not only water, neither land, nor biodiversity or climate, fauna, flora and human, but it is comprehensive.
Yeah.
So once they come to that understanding, and interdependency and non-substitution, no one can substitute the other or exclude the other, then they can come to determine better livelihood or better development for everyone. Because if Egypt is developed or if Ethiopia is developed and someone come to Ethiopia or to Egypt, go to Egypt, he will benefit from this development, because at the end of the day,
you can also integrate your economy.
Yes.
In that integration. Yeah.
You see that they can come to integrated community, Nile Basin community, or that is too far? That is only utopia.
Unless it's not Ethiopia, it's possible.
It's possible. Since Europe became possible because of the
steel. If you look
steel.
at the historical things also, these countries somehow are tied up really culturally,
Shared civilization.
they're originally one and the same people. You know, I had the opportunity to visit these three countries. I was in Aswan, Sudan, many places, and Ethiopia. I see a shared culture. You know. The others is differences in religion and so on are superficial, and those are the ones that came later.
Okay.
You know, but when you look at in depth, these are the same people. You know, and there is a lot that they share. You know, tradition, culture, and so on. And this system, the Nile, is also their binding resource. So,
Sort of common heritage.
Once they overcome this illusion, like for example, Egypt without Nile or Nile without Egypt, this type of illusion meets and so on, they should go away and realize that there are people living within the system. There are people also who depend on it, one more than the other, of course. So you need to sit and discuss together. And once you come out of that illusion and look at things in a more rational way, definitely these countries, there are more things that bind them once they overcome these myths and illusions. Ethiopia could, for example, as an Ethiopian, I'm an Ethiopian, so Ethiopia has more connection, traditional and so on, historical, with Sudan and Egypt and Kenya or Uganda.
Mm.
You know, if you look at the historical thing. So there is a common
Heritage.
yes, but most of us do not want to bring out that common things that we share and we focus on the differences and so on, which in the long run will not benefit anybody. You know, and economic integration within these countries is much easier and will go very fast once you really break that blockage. You know, see itself.
No free movement.
So it is not Ethiopia, but how long will it take to break this? I think now Egypt has realized that it cannot continue the way it did. Sudan has realized. And Ethiopia has also realized that they cannot 100% own the country. They also see the needs downstream.
Yeah.
So I think all three countries have now realized that one cannot dominate the other. You know, this Egypt's hegemony, that period has gone.
Yeah.
But Ethiopia cannot be a hegemony also because it is their best. They need to work together. And I think now...
You cannot stop the Nile
you
from
cannot
running.
stop the Nile.
Yeah.
You can divert it,
But you can't stop it.
yeah, but you don't have to because there are people downstream
Yeah.
who depend.
Yeah, yes.
So I think Ethiopians have also realized this.
Yes.
Sudan has realized this, and Egypt has realized this. Now, the only problem they have for me is that they have been telling their people so many lies, so many myths. Now,
People are informed.
yeah, retracting back and telling the truth is now a big challenge for the politicians, but they have to be brave enough to tell the truth.
Yeah,
You know, you cannot continue to lie to your people. But
definitely.
yeah, people will say if a drop is taken from the Nile, that will go and fight, and you cannot do that through wars. It is not possible anymore. You know? You can only do it through negotiation, through diplomatic means, through fairness, and so on.
Transport.
Yes. And by doing so, you can also secure what you need to secure. But if you cannot do it, if you lose this opportunity, you may not even secure what you should have secured today. You know, if you want to secure 90% of the river as you used to do, like the Sudan-Egypt agreement of 1950, it's an obsolete one.
Yeah.
I mean, you can continue to say that I have an international agreement and so on, but those will remain valid only if people upstream are not any good. But if they are desperate, I don't think there will be as much concern on your agreement. You know, it's vice versa on any issue.
Yes,
you
yes,
know?
yes, yes.
So this type of things, I think everyone has realized this, and we at ENTRO, what we do and what our role should be and what it is to help these countries to understand this. Through the projects that we do, through the studies that we do, we generate knowledge, share that knowledge to the countries, and so on. And we help them to make the right decision. That's all we do.
They agreed on everything, not only that small Article 14b, which is few words, which is silly, because if you outweight the benefits of coming from this cooperation, it is far beyond the conflictive this thing.
Actually, even they agreed to take out that and discuss it later. Agree on the rest, establish the commission, and to discuss this separately. But it didn't work. So anyway, this is a political.
Yeah, maybe in the future they will come.
I hope so.
Yeah, we hope so. We hope also as
There is
population
no,
of the Nile.
I mean, all countries have no option but to work together.
Yeah.
Yes.
And do you see the integration of the Eastern Nile and the other Western Nile or Equatorial line? How do you see it here? Because now if here as your focus is only this Eastern Nile, but the Nile Basin it is 11 states or 10 states.
Yeah, you know, of course, all will have to come together. And I think
They will have
if you look at
comparative
the-
advantage in this case.
they will have. But you know, hydrologically, the Eastern Nile is different.
Mm.
And because of the amount of water produced from Ethiopia, and because of the end user in Egypt,
Mm.
now the big players have become Ethiopia and Egypt.
Mm.
Because Egypt wants to control, and if they control, they need to control 85%, not really interested in the 15% as much as they are interested in the 18%.
Mm.
So now the conflict between Ethiopia and Egypt has become dominant because the major water is from this side.
Mm.
But the other countries are also very important. You know,
Yeah.
The lake regions, but there is more common understanding in the lake regions,
Then,
the 6 countries.
okay.
But Egypt and Sudan are also
Part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they will also have their influence there.
Mhm.
But Ethiopia is, hydrologically, it is more influential on. But in terms of the cooperative framework agreement, I think the 6 countries are all except Congo and Ethiopia have signed. The 5 Nile countries have signed,
Mm.
except Congo.
Yeah.
In Congo, I don't know, 1% of their territory is within, they are very marginally within the Nile Basin,
Yeah.
Congo. So they don't influence so much.
And they have the River Congo.
They have the River Congo, their interest in the Nile is so minimal.
Mm.
They don't want to engage in this and spoil their relationship with
Yeah.
Egypt. The same, Eritrea, for example, is not a member. But whether it is a member or not, it doesn't really affect because it's a very small, tiny part. So these 9 countries are more.
Somebody is saying that also Central African Republic has something to do with the Nile Basin. Is it true or only academics are just mentioning
I
that?
don't think so.
Just that was mentioned during the Nile Basin Development Forum
Is it?
in Nairobi, yeah. This year.
Could be. They may have some, but very small, I think.
Very small.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think most important countries are Burundi, Rwanda, Tanzania, Uganda, and Kenya,
Mm.
where Lake Victoria and so on is.
Actually, I started my journey from Rwanda.
Okay.
And I came by road up to Kampala.
Kampala.
Yeah. And then I went to Kenya.
By road also?
By road also.
Yeah.
Because part of my research is also the landscape. I believe the landscape is very important, especially for tourism promotion in the future. Once these countries have overcome this heavy poverty and so on, and they will pass from a stage of low-income countries to medium-income countries, they will start thinking about promotion of tourism and increase their income through that and so on. So the landscape here is also a very important issue. So that's why I travel by road in order to observe that and also produce documentary about it.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is also part of the research we are doing. And yeah, I think you have given me a very valuable information, and our talk is so rich. I am happy that you have given us this time, and if you want to add something which we are not touching in our, because this research is, for me it is PhD program, but it is lifelong commitment. So I will go after the PhD for the postdoc, or maybe also in consultancy commitments or engagements, or maybe also for executive work or political engagement in the future. We don't know. So if you all want to add me something, or
No, I think we discussed. So if you need more materials,
yeah, we will need definitely.
I will share with you some materials.
Yeah, we will need.
Yeah. Thank you, and Wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Good. It went very fine. And basically, this is what I'm doing. And just after conducting a significant number of interviews, I see most of the privileged informants are giving me more or less the same views. They are talking the same language, the same orientation, and this is good, also good sign. Good sign at the end of the day, very good sign. And so that means people are coming to a common understanding. As well, also myself, as before I was totally ignorant, and every day my knowledge is gaining.
That's very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And this thing is very, yep.
I hope
Yeah,
your
it
card
has.
is not full.
Huh?
Your card was
No, this is enough.
Okay.
Thank you.